sure people are getting tired, some of you, of how much I talk about the fact that I'm getting older. But, you know, though you're getting tired of it, it's something that I feel really is important to talk about. And it's because I learn certain lessons and because certain things become absolutely dreadfully obvious to you as you get older. Today on the Daily Summation, I want to talk on the subject of eating my time. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Friday, the 15th of April of 2022. I noticed my notes. I forgot to change the dates. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page, on locals.com. That would be Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, and the Facebook page would be Kurt's Religion and Politics there. On minds.com, that's minds.com, and that would be typically the Kurt's Religion and Politics group where you would see me there. On Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be finding my stuff today. Subject for today, as I say, has been eating my time, and I'm going to go through my notes very quickly. Is it just me, or are there always way more things for me to do than time to do them in? This is what it seems like to me. I recently heard one of the podcasters I listen to talking about taking more than an hour to put out there what he does. Up to this point, he's tended to take less than a full one. I quite enjoy what he does, but I certainly won't promise to hang around for a longer period. I'm not going to say I won't, but I won't promise it. And he's not alone in those for whom such things are not so likely. I make a habit of playing certain puzzle-type games on my phone. Some of them on my computer, some on my phone, whatever. Where I like the challenge of doing so, one such app got into the habit of putting out conundrums that were taking me more than an hour over the course of the day, and sometimes not even getting completed because I hadn't the time so to do. I liked that game, but it had to go. I can't have it. I just don't have that amount of time to devote to it after all. That's just how that is. I'm quite sure they have good reasons for doing what they do. Will they be able to get more people to sponsor them or to advertise on their app? Maybe. The funny thing, though, is I listen for less time to the podcast mentioned earlier, than I would if they increased their on-air presence. I would actually rather put up with more advertising, within reason, of course, than have them create another hour of content for me to consume. Sadly, it's not that I don't enjoy their banter and breadth, it's that my time is limited. The point of all I'm saying is this. You may think keeping me around your app or podcast or whatever will work to your benefit, but you need to be fully aware of the time I've got and not a great deal more. If you start to expand your little game or again podcast or whatever to try to keep me around for longer, presumably so you can push more ads, though I don't really care why, at some point you may find me no longer among those visiting you. And you can bet there's a point of diminishing returns where you lose enough users to not make your advertisers happy. I get wanting to make more money. That said, people may well like you because of the length of time they deal with you. That's not to say they wouldn't do more if they thought they could afford the time. Just that often they don't. They don't have it. Want to make more money? My suggestion, get more users. If you can't do that, you may run off the folks you have if you're not careful. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Okay, done with my notes. Look, I am wary I recently sort of made an informal decision to push my podcast up to 15 minutes from the 13 or so that it had been. It had started out at less than 5. I made it 5. Then I moved it up to 10, and then around 13. Now it's at about 15, and I'm beginning to feel that if I'm not very careful, I will push people off of watching me because they have limited amounts of time to do the things that they do on an ongoing basis. So I don't think I'm alone in that. This app that I used to play, and I won't get into it, was a puzzle game of sorts. And I liked playing that game. I liked it a lot. But the problem is I would hit 1 or 2 different points in the game, and I would stall sometimes literally for hours. Now, my thought for a long time was, I'll get better at this game, and what will happen in the course of time is I will be able to do it in shorter amounts of time. That never materialized. Was it me? Was it the puzzle? I don't know, but let me just tell you a secret. I don't care either. I can't spend that kind of time on something like that. I'm not just doing it for entertainment. I'm doing it to keep my mental abilities up and so forth, and I grant that. But the thing about it is, I still can't spend huge amounts of time doing things like that. There's another problem that I see, and it is that sometimes people will make things that don't work like they're supposed to. I've got one puzzle that I'm doing right now that swears up and down I'm offline when I know that I've got full access because it's on my phone to begin with, but on top of that, it's using the Wi-Fi in my house to do its business. So I definitely have access, and they're having some kind of problem. And I have news for you. If I can't do them, I'll probably just uninstall their app in the course of time. But my point is this. Whatever you're doing that's extending the amount of time that it takes me to do things, if I have an expectation that I'm going to do things in this time. So I used to do this one app that I think I even still have installed on my phone. And it started out with you do 1 puzzle. And then it went from there to you do 3 puzzles. And it was starting to push it a little bit, but I was okay with that. Then it was up to you do 3 puzzles and you've got 5 or 7 or more bonus puzzles that you can do. Well, the thing is, I'm going to be inclined to do all of those. But the problem is it got to the point where it was so much that I finally had to go, we're not doing it. So this is not, the one that I'm talking about recently is not the first time this has happened. This has happened any number of times for me. And I'm going to say this again. If I know people out there, they're either not going to get other things that they need done, or they're going to quit doing things that you put in front of them. One or the other is going to happen, people. You've got a choice. You keep pushing and pushing and pushing on people's time, and when they were, I'm going to name names. I don't like doing this, but I'm going to do it. Drew Berquist is talking about putting 3 hours of content out there every day. I like Drew. I like him real well, but you need to understand this. And there are some things that Drew does that I go, come on, Drew, don't do that. But overall, I really like him. But when you start telling me we're going to go from 45 or 50 or even minutes or even an hour of content to 2 or 3 hours, I go, yeah, Drew, you just need to understand something. There's a reason people like Dan Bongino stay around the 1 hour mark and Dinesh D'Souza stays around the 1 hour mark. And I want you to look at something, and I want you to consider this. Both of those two have huge followings. I know Dinesh has over 1.4 million, I think it was, people following him on just Rumble. I know that Dan Bongino was pushing, I don't know if he's made it yet, he may have done already, to 2 million followers on Rumble. And a big part of the reason for that is Dan does a daily show or whatever on air, on broadcast radio, whatever you want to call it. But he only does an hour on his podcast. People have the time for that. I just barely do. My time is so eaten up, and I'll get into this in another podcast that I'm going to do later, but my time is so eaten up that I still haven't done any of my podcasts for the day, and it's afternoon. And I've normally, if I can do what I want to do, I've normally done everything I can before noon my time. Everything I can. I usually have just Drew left. So what I'm trying to get across to you here is please really think about what you're doing. I get you want more advertisers. I get you want more sponsors. I get you want to do more spots. But you need to understand, if you push the window, the envelope too far, what you're going to do is make it so that a lot of people are just going to go, I don't have the time for this, and they're just going to stop. And when they start falling behind, it's going to be a thing for them to do, in all likelihood to go, nope, that's enough of that. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. This has been the Daily Summation, if you prefer. I am your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Friday, the 15th of April, 2022. I knew that was going to catch me again. That will be the beginning of the Sabbath for a lot of folks who are celebrating it. We're coming into that Easter weekend that a lot of Christian folks tend to celebrate. We're also doing the Passover, as I understand it, so I hope all of that goes well for you, whatever of it you celebrate. I have my own opinions about that, but for the time being, I'll keep them to myself. It being Friday, that means tomorrow then will be Saturday the 16th of April, not Friday the 15th, as my notes say. And that will be the end of the Sabbath. Now, I think it's Sunday is Easter. This was Good Friday today. I forget what they call. I think it's Monday, Thursday, Good Friday. I forget what Saturday ends up being, but Sunday is Easter, of course. But anyway, all of that being said, thank you for coming along, whether on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page, which would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on locals.com, that would be Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on minds.com, that would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, primarily there. That's where you'll find me. On Parler, on Gab, and on Twitter. Subject for today has been eating my time, and tomorrow we're going to talk about a subject that I think is really important, and I didn't used to think it was all that important a thing. I've come to the conclusion it's pretty much supremely important, and that is discernment. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, particularly where Christians are concerned. But the truth is, for just about everybody, this is an important thing, to be able to discern, to be able to look at things and find out what's important and so forth. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Saturday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Friday, the 15th of April of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.